Hello everyone, thank you very much for being with us today. It is truly, truly an honor to be standing before you with our State Attorney Brian Haas. You've heard me say before, he is just the very best. He's hands-on, as he and his team were in this protracted investigation. And our CFO, Blaise Ngolia. What's really exciting about our CFO is that this is kind of the first time we've had a CFO that goes, hey, I want to be involved with my criminal investigation division at every level of crime and fraud in this state. And he's here with us as well. Chief Terry Story of the Auburndale Police Department's here with us, and the three of them will speak. We also have Detective Henrik Osted from the Marion County Sheriff's Office representing his sheriff. Sheriff Vint Crawford from Hardy County, my colleague and friend, helps us on every operation. There are other groups that helped us in this investigation, however, they were unable to be with us. The Highlands County Sheriff's Office, the Osceola County Sheriff's Office, the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, the San Francisco, California Sheriff's Office. Now, they came here to see how we did this because they want to go after these child predators in San Francisco. You know, that's like fishing in a barrel. And then there's the Lake City Police Department and the Orlando Police Department that were very valuable to us as well. We're calling this operation Poke Around and Find Out, Child Predator 8. And it's important to understand that this particular operation was only 1 week long. We started on Monday, April the 20th, and by Sunday, April 26th, we'd wrapped it up. We arrested 19 people, 16 of which traveled thinking they were going to engage children in illegal sex. We call them child deviants, child predators, pedophiles. There's not enough bad words to really talk about all of the things that they did and said and the photographs they sent, thinking that they were sending them to children. But let me highlight some of the folks. Now I want to start, we teased this thing yesterday and there was a lot of work. You know, Christmas time is very important. We like Christmas. Scott, here, you can hold this. But as you may well understand, there's this fellow called Santa Claus. And we arrested Santa Claus. Now, I want all the children that may be watching this to understand it's not the real Santa Claus, okay? This is a guy, though, who is well known in Polk County and Central Florida and Lakeland as a for-hire Santa Claus. In fact, one of our NGOs that was working with us said, oh my goodness, I've already booked him for a party next Christmas. Nah, that's over with. But it's scary because this guy was well respected in the community. In fact, here's a picture that he took with me at a Rotary meeting just a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. He was very active in our community. And then, of course, you've seen the picture of the Lakeland Christmas Parade. For those not from the area, the Lakeland Christmas Parade is a big, big, big deal. The Junior League puts this on every year, and it is top quality. Mr. and Ms. Claus, we have fogged her out of this picture, are in this. For at least the last decade, he was Santa Claus. No worries. He's not going to be Santa Claus this next year. But who is this guy that hides behind this mask as Santa Claus, while he has these sexual proclivities to batter children and in fact traveled to a location thinking he was going to have sex with a little girl? His name is Tom Hicks. He's 68 years old. He works for Tri-County, a mental health and drug addiction group, in marketing. He's a preacher, I'm told, of 40 years. He is a professional Santa Claus. He is well regarded in the community. Detectives working the operation this last week showed me a photograph of his children sitting on Santa Claus's lap while he and his wife stood next to them. Thousands and thousands and thousands of children have sat on this guy's lap thinking he was Santa Claus, when in fact what he was a child sex predator. So what did he do on this occasion? Our colleague from Marion County was the undercover and did a really remarkable job. He responded to an ad online and he said, "Hey, I'm looking to have sex with a 13-year-old child, a little girl." And he thought he was talking to the father of the child. Well, he was talking to our undercover detective. And he said, "I just want to have 1 hour's worth of sex, and I'll pay $200. And then he asked the father, "Do you want to be in the room, or are you going to be in the room while I have sex with your daughter?" And they said, "No, not really." He said, "Well, don't worry, I'll be gentle. I'll be real gentle. I'm kind of old, and I'll be really easy with her." Ladies and gentlemen, that's how dangerous these people are. So how about his criminal history? 0 criminal history. How about the remorse he showed when he was arrested? 0 remorse when he was arrested. The only thing he was concerned about was his reputation as Santa Claus. Interestingly enough, after our investigation's over with, we embed Chris Hansen, and you remember him from the old To Catch a Predator day. He has a program and he goes with undercovers across the nation. He was with us. Tom Hicks talked to Chris for 40 minutes and told him some really remarkable things. Well, I understand Chris is supposed to be on Jesse Waters tonight, and he'll probably share more details with you there or either on True Blue. But I want you to understand that the person behind this happy face is a deviant. He's a pedophile. And we have presented felonies to our state attorney and his ace #1 team, and we will do our best to keep him locked up in prison for the rest of his life. And we're broadcasting this today because, in addition to that, if by some chance he were to get out in the future, we want to make sure he is no longer a Santa Claus. I talked to the real Santa Claus today, and he's pissed. I just want to let you know. Santa Claus said, "It's people like that give me a bad reputation, and here I spend all this time going all around the world delivering presents to wonderful little boys and girls." Sheriff, I'm glad you got him locked up. Well, he wasn't the only one. Now, I've just picked out a few. Every one of these are deviants. Some of them, one of them was on public assistance. That's right, your tax dollars was paying $900 a month for him to sexually seek out children. Every one of these folks were looking to hurt children. So how about Ahmad Morrissey? He's 36 from Spring Hill. Do you know he's from Egypt? And he was a dentist in Egypt. And when he came to this country, of course, he couldn't practice as a dentist. So he was a dental hygienist for the Shurab, S-H-U-Y-A-B Dental Institute. Now he's locked up in jail. All of these folks are still in jail. You know, he admitted to having sex with this child. He said, I looked at Florida law to see how young I could legally have sex with people. I thought she was 16. Well, he doesn't read English real well because he cannot have sex with a child at 16, but that's not who he thought he was attacking here. So what he did, because he wanted to make this a special evening, he brought marinated chicken. So he was going to cook chicken, marinated chicken, for the child and he to enjoy dinner before or after they had sex. He has 0 criminal history. He's charged with many felonies. As a result, we hope he goes to prison for a long time. And then there's Lonnie Hill Sr. He's 62. He traveled about 3 hours from Riviera Beach. Our detective from the Orlando Police Department worked with us. He had been grooming her, thinking she was a child, for 5 weeks. For 5 weeks. And he traveled to Lakeland. She, as the undercover, said, well, I'm going to Lakeland to be with my aunt this weekend. And he said, great, I'll meet you in Lakeland. So he rented a Motel 6. So he already had the motel room in check. And he was ready to take her there. The undercover said, well, will you bring condoms? We don't need a 13-year-old girl pregnant. So we have video evidence of him just before meeting her at a park. At least he thought it was a her. Going into the local store to purchase condoms. He resisted us. He was not going to get out of the car. In the process, one of my deputies' legs got twisted up in the scrum and broke his leg and also his ankle. But as a result of great work by our undercover from Orlando Police, this guy is going to prison for a very long time, we hope, as well. And then, of course, there's the Uber driver, Noah Berman, from 33, from Orlando. That's right, he brought a fare over to Lakeland and thought, hey, while I'm here, why don't I go ahead and have sex with a 14-year-old boy? Interestingly enough, as this investigation unfolded, we found out that the Orange County Sheriff's Office is working a sexual battery investigation from 2019 against him, where he supposedly sexually battered a 15 or a 16-year-old child. That's under investigation. He has not been charged, but he has confessed. They're still wrapping up the investigation. In and around this time, he worked for Boys Town of Central Florida. Now, Boys Town is a very well-respected organization to help young men and young ladies in trouble. So he no longer works there, and we are working with Boys Town as well. This guy is hugely dangerous. And then there's George Bradley. He's 39. He works in IT at Publix. He's married. His wife is 10 weeks pregnant with their child. But he came to have sex with a 14-year-old boy. He has no criminal history. Think about this. He left his pregnant wife at home thinking he was going to have sex with a 14-year-old little boy. You can't fix these people. They got a hitch in their giddy up. Their elevator don't go all the way to the top. It stops at P, pedophile floor. It stops at P, predator floor. It stops at C, child predator floor. These are dangerous people. I could go on about all of them, but I think you get the point. The detectives from the sheriff's office, my team, is simply the very best, and we amass the very best from around the state to work with us on these operations. And you're going to hear from our state attorney and certainly from our CFO, some of the professionals that they assigned to this case to make sure that we could make the best case. But I want to take one more second for you to understand. They travel to a park, to a location, thinking they were having sex with your children. And they would have groomed and had sex with your children had these wonderful detectives not done their job. With that, let me introduce you to Mr. Haas, our state attorney.
Thank you, Sheriff. I want to start by saying thank you to Sheriff Judd. I cannot think of one single person who has done more to take on these child predators over his career. Just this one operation alone has potentially saved countless children from being victimized. And if you think of all of the work that he's done over the years with his great detectives, what an incredible individual. And just to stand up here, I'm proud to stand with him. The detectives that worked on these cases, they do an amazing job. They've got to do their job, but they have to anticipate legal defenses, criminal defenses that may come up, because we've got to prosecute these cases now. It's very important to arrest them. It's very important to get them off the streets. But my team is ready to prosecute these cases and put these people where they belong. But cumulatively, it must be so tough for these detectives to have to deal with this subject matter again and again and again. So a big thank you to them. As a parent, and for everyone out there, whether you're a parent, a grandparent, or just somebody in your life that's a kid that you care a lot about, this just leaves a pit in my stomach when I read some of this stuff. And I think of people who are in positions of trust and respect in our community that would do this to a child. And here's the unsettling thing. They're out there right now trying to figure a way to get to your children. We're going to do what we can with these folks here and the ones that have come before. But right now there are people that are working very hard to try to find your children. So if you think that you've got great locks on your house, or that you have an alarm system, or that you're real careful, you're not doing your job. They're making their way around the physical barriers and talking directly to your children. So get involved. This should be a wake-up call for everyone. I cannot think of another place besides Polk County that would have more information out there for parents, yet it still happens here all the time. So please take that message to heart and watch out for your kids. So appreciate all the work that was done here, and we're ready to get to work and do some prosecution. Thank you.
I want to introduce once again our CFO, Blaze Ngolia. He's taken that office to the next level and the next level and the next level. And it is very impressive to us that you care so much about the children, so much about making sure that the bad guys are locked up and that our children are safe, that you sent us a whole team of folks. So thank you for taking the office to the next level and the next level, and thank you for the huge presence during this operation.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Sheriff. My name is Blaze Ngolia. I'm the CFO of the great state of Florida. It is an honor to serve in that position. Most of you know that, my big jobs these days are rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse from government. I'm the state fire marshal, but what many people may not know is that I actually have a whole law enforcement division. We have 300 sworn law enforcement officers working underneath our office, and we spend most of our time with financial crimes. We're putting people away for escrow violations, stealing money, insurance fraud. Recently we put, I think it was 10 or 12 state employees away in jail for stealing about $1.7 million. But with that law enforcement division, I saw that there was an opportunity. This is an issue that is near and dear to my heart. So we have reached out to law enforcement, and Sheriff, the sheriff has been leading on this issue here with these sting operations. I said, hey, if we have law enforcement, we want to be able to help. So we want to be able to repurpose some of our people and add value to what the sheriffs are doing in terms of going after these online predators. And while I'm here, I want to personally thank each and every one of not only my law enforcement officers, but every law enforcement officer who is part of these sting operations, the detectives who've collected all the information and the receipts to hand over to our state's attorneys so we can get these bad guys put in jail. A heartfelt thank you for that. Now, I have been, like I said, this is sort of a passion of mine, putting these people away. I'm doing it now as CFO because I am passionate about it, and I was passionate about it when I was in the legislature. As a state senator, we had worked with the state's attorney's office in figuring out new ways so we can put some of these people behind jail, behind bars. I had developed a grant program at the state where law enforcement can go and draw down money in terms of technologies to help run these sting operations. So I'm so passionate about this, I've actually been on the inside of these sting operations. I have been in the room when some of this chatting has been going on. And I will tell you, and this is the scary part, and this is what I want everyone to understand, that as soon as they flip that switch, when it is go time, and they open up the chats and they start receiving all the information, as soon as they flip that switch, they're getting flooded with people just like these. And it is nonstop. These are the people that they actually got arrested. I will tell you that there are hundreds, if not thousands more, that are not being caught because they're just evading. They don't have, but it's not going to stop these guys. They're going to continue going after these people as much as they possibly can. But every parent needs to understand that when you hand your child a smartphone and they're on their smartphone, these guys are waiting for your child to log on. There is no better picture than to look at if you guys want, if parents want your kids talking to these guys after hours, there's something wrong with you. And that's why we need to make sure that we are doing everything that we possibly can to protect our children from these online predators, from the online harm. And look, here's we were talking before we come up here, and it came up that, a bank robber once said, why did you go rob the bank? And the answer was because that's where the money is there. When they do these operations and they are online in chat rooms and on social media, why are they doing it? Because that's where the predators are. So when you're handing your kid a smartphone, you're handing them the ability for some of these child predators to reach out and groom your kid for nefarious purposes. Whether it be sexual abuse material, whether it be child porn, whether it being meet up to have sex with an underage kid, it is reprehensible, it is a sickness, and every single one of these people will eventually go to jail. It is only a matter of time. I know that our law enforcement cares about it. I know our sheriff cares about it, all the sheriffs, all the police chiefs. I know that the governor, the cabinet, I personally care about this, and we will not rest until we put each and every one of these people behind bars so they can never, ever hurt another child again. But the parents of the children in this sting actually got lucky. And they got lucky because the person these child predators were talking to were detectives and law enforcement officers who were on the other side of that phone. But that is not always the case. Sometimes you will have, not sometimes, many of the times, you'll have a mom and a dad sit there and contact the state's attorney's office, contact the sheriff's office, contact the police chief, and say that, hey, we think our child is being groomed, and there is somebody on the other end of that phone that is making sexually suggestive comments, sending nudes, requesting nudes, transmitting child porn. And what happens? I'm going to tell you this is what happens. I'm going to be very, very, very critical of the social media industry right now in big tech. Because what happens, and the state's attorneys will tell you this, and they will verify this. You talk to any state's attorney, any prosecutor, any detective, and they will all tell you the same thing, is that the unlucky ones are the parents and the kids that actually go and try to have this information brought to them, and then they want the proof. But where's the proof? The proof somehow disappears. because these social medias, the big tech oligarchs are sitting there. Now everything is end-to-end encryption. Now they have disappearing messages. You guys all know that all the criminals are using the social media platforms to go after the kids, to attract kids, to have conversation with these kids, because they know they are using the system where there is disappearing messages. I do not think that it's right. It would be much easier to put a lot of these scumbags away if we were able to get the evidence, and the evidence was not destroyed by some of these big tech companies. The last time I checked, destroying evidence in a criminal investigation was a crime, was it not? Maybe we should take some of these social media executives and charge them with the destruction of evidence during a crime, and maybe they should spend 5 years in jail. This is how important this is. I cannot tell you how many times I hear these stories of parents or from state's attorneys saying, hey, we tried to put the bad guy in jail, but we put a request in to the social media company and they say that they can't do anything, the information is gone. Please do not tell me with a straight face that you cannot retrieve this information. With everything that we can do technology-wise, and you have a 65-year-old man, a 78-year-old man, a 46-year-old man talking to your 12 or 13-year-old child, and you cannot retrieve those messages, the messages that could be used in a court of law to put these scumbags away so they don't hurt another child, the social media companies need to ask themselves a very simple question. Are you here to protect the kids, or are you here to protect the criminals and the profits? That's the question that should be asked of every single social media executive in this country today. Because the last time I checked, we're here to protect kids, not embolden criminals to go after our kids online and use the excuse of privacy. Privacy does not hold up in a court of law. Evidence does. And if you are destroying evidence, I believe you should go to jail also.
Thank you very much. And for those that are in charge of these big companies, maybe you should listen to your wife, because I'm sure she would say, you're protecting those evil people that are trying to attack children. What if they were attacking our child? We've got to hold them accountable. So next, we're going to speak with us Terry Story. He's the police chief of Auburndale. He is shoulder to shoulder with us in all of our major investigations. He retired from the sheriff's office. He's a dear friend of mine. He's a professional in every sense of the word, but we enjoy working together just as we always have. But now we have a force multiplier with the Auburndale Police Department. Chief, come on up.
Thank you, Sheriff. I actually paid him to say all that. So this was a sting operation, which means that there weren't really any victims. But I'm here to tell you that there are victims out there, and we've investigated these crimes, and you have the parents that will tell you the most frustrating thing that they will say is, I just wanted to give my child privacy on their phone. That is a load of crap. You need to be you get one chance to raise your children, one, and you need to be involved in every aspect of their life, including digging deep into that cell phone and seeing what they're doing online and seeing who they're chatting with. So if there's one thing that you can do to help us, get involved. Make sure that you're looking at their phones. Make sure you know what they're doing online, because this is the result of these people got caught. Not everybody does, as Mr. Haas mentioned earlier. So if you want to be involved with your kids. Make sure you know exactly what they're doing online. Limit their online time. Take their phones. But you need to be involved. Thank you very much.
This last week, they were coming after your children, but because of the talent of these detectives, we got in between your child and child sex predators and stopped them. Stopped them cold. Now, let me go ahead and give you the rest of the story. Poke around and find out. We'll have a press conference Friday, I think, at 10 o'clock. We arrested a total of 266 people in our human trafficking operation and our Child Protector 8 operation. So there's 247 more that while we were looking for victims of human trafficking that we haven't talked about today. So stand by for news. We're out protecting the people and the community and recovering victims of human trafficking. And once again, this team was with us when we did that. And as I close out, I want to talk about our NIA, our National Innovation Academy. These ladies and gentlemen come from around the state and around the nation to learn about STEM processes as it relates to law enforcement. They're the best trained in the nation, going to our National Academy here. So thank you all for being with us. Thank you for being part of the operation, and we look forward to you taking these seeds and spreading them around the nation in your agencies or enhancing operations that you all are doing. But our NIA, our National Innovation Academy, is STEM-based, and we're looking at how we can use technology to catch bad guys before bad guys catch your children. Are there any questions?
I have a question for State Attorney Haas. You know, these operations have been going on for a while now. What's the conviction rate?
Well, thankfully, because of the work of the detectives, like I was talking about before, they're very careful how they go about doing this, and we know that there are certain defenses that are raised, which is why I'm so impressed with the work that's done to make sure that the cases are being worked up correctly. So because of that, the conviction rates are very quite high. I can get some specifics to you, but with these types of cases, we have a great level of success because of all the hard work that goes into these cases. The cases, when they come to us, if they're worked up properly, we're in a much better position to be able to get justice on behalf of our community.
And are the sentences?
Yes, the great thing is in Florida we have some great laws. Our legislature and our governor have been working for many years to make sure that the laws are sufficient enough to justify the types of crimes that we're prosecuting. So, the human trafficking, they've really worked hard to get those cases some very good sentences, and so it's a first-degree felony punishable by up to 30 years in prison on just one count alone. And you start adding in some other ones: traveling to meet a minor, unlawful use of a two-way communication device, and the stacking effect is it's very good.
To follow up on that, can you talk about, and this may be for the sheriff as well, can you talk about the steps, the attention to detail to make sure that the cases meet legal standards for prosecution?
Well, we've been doing these cases long enough to know that there's going to be certain defenses that are going to be raised. Entrapment, or I didn't know, it was role play, it was this, it was that. So over the years, we've learned from that. And that's why it's so important to have a good working relationship with your law enforcement partners. It's not just a handing of the baton. When Sheriff Judd sends us a case, when law enforcement in our circuit sends us a case, it's not a here you go, good luck. It's we've already been talking. We're at these operations. We're strategizing with the undercover detectives to make sure that we have the work that needs to be done. And then once we get the case, it's an ongoing process. If we need something else, we need additional information, more witnesses, whatever it is, it's a simple call to our law enforcement partners, and they're with us to the very end. And that's pretty special.
I got a question for Sheriff Judd. You mentioned Thomas Hicks was a preacher in the area. Do you know if he was tied to a specific church and was currently pastoring at it?
We've not been able to determine that he's tied to a specific church. We know that he brags about being a preacher in the community and has been by one set of standards for 40 years. But no, there's not a specific church that we have found out that he's specifically affiliated with. We've asked those questions.
Sure. Can you talk about this skipthegames.com? Is that a website that was the website that Mr. Hicks used according to the affidavit? Is that something that is used for solicitation of prosecution?
We don't talk about the websites that we use or the techniques that we use, because if we do, we're just educating the sexual deviant so that they can try to meander around that. But I can tell you that wherever children are, that's where child predators go. So you can look at any gaming site or any site where children are, and that's where they meet them, and that's where the grooming begins. And then they may move them to other sites or ask for pictures of body parts or submit pictures of body parts to the children.
Will there be any more additional investigation into Hicks' previous interactions with kids?
Certainly, that's one of the reasons for press conferences. If there is something out there that a parent thought, well, that looks suspicious, but, you know, he's well regarded. He's all over this county in Central Florida. In fact, Sheriff Crawford said he was doing some work in the county south of us. And he's such a well-known guy. I won't say anything because, you know, I don't want to say something if there's nothing to it. Well, there's something to it if Tom Hicks was around and your child says that they were inappropriately approached or touched. So we want to know about that.
Sheriff, you know, Thomas Hicks was a person of trust. What was your initial reaction when you found out he had been arrested? I mean, clearly you knew who he was, and
Sure.
Just curious on what your initial reaction was.
My initial reaction was I was elated. It warmed my heart that we arrested the Santa Claus light because he was in a position of trust where people all across this community trusted him and trusted him for years. One of the ladies from Junior League said, well, I know at least a decade he's been the Santa in the Christmas parade. Well, there's 30, 40, 50,000 people that have seen him online. He's had thousands upon thousands of children set on his lap. He was trusted in the community, and there was no reason that any of those parents or anyone else shouldn't trust him. So to say that I was overjoyed is an understatement. To say that we certainly look forward to the opportunity of putting him in prison for the rest of his life and making an example for anyone else that may want to hide behind Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or any other child event to get to children. We're coming after you. If you're the Easter Bunny, we'll hop you right in prison to go with Santa Claus. You can go ho, ho, ho in the bunny too, okay? Anything else? Thank you all. God bless you. See you next time. Friday at 10. Be there or not be cool, okay?